Okay, guys, we are going to be doing the last section in Chapter 10. We're going to be talking about 10.8, equations of a circle. So before we talk about the equations of a circle, let's remember what an equation of a line looks like. We all know y equals mx plus b, where m is our slope and b is our y-intercept. So that's an equation of a line. There are also equations of circles. So let me write down for you real quick what the equation of a circle looks like. So this is what an equation of a circle is. It's parentheses x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. So before we talk about what that means, let's just put a bubble around this because we need to refer to this equation many times while we are doing this worksheet. Okay, so you might be going, what the heck are h and k? So h and k are our center points. So notice that the formula says x minus h, y minus k. But notice that our center points are just h and k. They're the positive values of the opposite values of what h and k are in this equation. R stands for our radius. We know a circle has a radius where it starts from the center point and extends to the side. All right, so this may not make a lot of sense to you until we do a few problems down here. So what I want to start with first is I want to start with number 2. So number 2 tells us that our center point is 0, 0. So our center really is h, comma, k. So I would label this h, comma, k. And I would just jot that our radius is 2. So we have to write the equation of each circle. So all that means is we have to plug it into this formula that I have bubbled in red. So I'm going to start with my parentheses. X minus is part of the formula, and then I plug in whatever h is, 0. Squared plus y minus, because it's part of the formula, whatever k is, 0, close my parenthesis and square it, equals r squared. Well, r is 2, so I put 2 squared. So now we've plugged everything into the right spot. We now have to simplify it. When you do x minus 0, aren't we just left with x? But now we have to square it. Plus y minus 0 is just y. We have to square it. And it equals 2 squared. So a lot of people forget and they just write 2 squared again. But we know what 2 squared is. 2 squared is 4. This right here is the equation of a circle with the center point 0, 0 and a radius of 2. So now let's go back to number 1. Number 1 says the center is at the origin. Well, on a graph, if the center is at the origin of the graph, isn't that really 0, 0? So I'm going to jot down that my center is 0, 0. And I'm going to label it HK. My radius is 6. So now we plug into the formula. It's going to be very similar to what we did over here. Parentheses x minus 0 squared plus y minus 0 squared equals my radius squared. 6 squared. So we know from before, when we have the minus zeros, we're just left with x squared plus y squared equals 6 squared is 36. And that's your equation of a circle for this specific problem. Okay, let's take a look at the next one. The center is at 4, 3 and a radius of 9. So I'm going to put that underneath it. This is h and k, and my radius is 9. So going to plug it into the formula. X minus 4 squared plus y minus 3 squared equals 9 squared. All right, for lack of space here, I'm going to simplify it over to the left a little bit. All right, let's make sure I can see that. So x minus 4 squared, can you do x minus 4? You can't, so it stays x minus 4 squared plus, can this be simplified? It can't. Y minus 3 squared equals, this is the only part that can be simplified. 9 squared is 81. And that's your equation of a circle for number 3. All right, let's take a look at number 4. Number 4 is slightly different. The center is 7, 1, so that's H and K. And our diameter is 24. Well, if the diameter is 24, what is the radius? Radius is half of the diameter, so the radius is 12. So we don't want to use this number when we plug in. We want to use the 12. So let's plug into our formula. X minus h, which is 7, squared, plus y minus 1 squared equals my radius squared, 12 squared. Now, I can't simplify either of these any further, so we're going to keep it the same. X minus 7 squared plus y minus 1 squared equals 12 squared is really 144. So that is the equation of our circle. Now, if you notice, we are skipping 5 and 6. Okay, so we have 4 more problems that we have to do. But if you notice, they're a little bit different. The same rules apply for 7 and 8. We want to write an equation of the circle. So it still falls under these directions. But they don't give us the center. They don't give us the radius, but they do give us a picture. So the picture can help us out with the center point and the radius. So here's the center point, right? Pretty obvious. Center point right here. So now all we have to do is we have to count over and up to figure out what the center is. So the center is, so we're going to go over 1, 2, 3, 3 to the right, and up 2. So my center point is 3, 2, which is really HK. Now your radius, how do you figure out your radius? Your radius is from your center point and it extends and touches the circle. So if I were to go this way, I wouldn't really be able to count my blocks. So I want to make sure I'm either going right, left, up, or down. No matter which way you go, you'll get the same distance. So I'm going to go to the right. So how many units is the radius? The radius is 2. So now all we have to do is plug this into that formula that you bubbled in up top. Parentheses, x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals 2 squared. So you can skip this step of rewriting if you can just do what 2 squared is right here. I kind of like to just set it up and then I want to finish x minus 3 squared plus y minus 2 squared equals 4. So we just wrote an equation of the circle given the picture. So now let's take a look at number 8. We're going to do the same thing that we did for number 7. So for number 8, I want to find my center point and I want to find my radius. So my center point is right here. So did I go over left or right? I didn't, so that's 0. But I went down 2. So this is my h and this is my k. My radius, let's take a look. Extend to the right, up, down, or left. Turns out my radius here is 3. So now let's plug it into the formula. X minus h, which is 0, squared, plus y minus a negative 2. So y minus a negative 2 squared equals my radius squared, which is 3 squared. So we have to take care of this in the next step, and we have to take care of this. So x minus 0, remember, is just x. I don't really need that parenthesis. X squared plus, now we know minus a negative really becomes a plus sign. So y plus 2 squared equals, and 3 squared is 9. So be careful when you have negatives when you plug them in, but you know mathematically what happens. Okay, last two. Last two are slightly different. So for 9 and 10, it says for each circle with the given equation. So let's take a look here for number 9. They give us the equation. For number 10, they give us the equation. They want us to state the coordinates of the center and find the measure of the radius. Then they want us to actually graph a picture of the circle. So I need to figure out what my center point is, what my radius picture is, my radius point number is, and then I need to draw my circle. So 3 things that I need to do. So if we look at this equation, x squared plus y squared, are there any numbers with the x and the y? There aren't. Remember up here for 1 and 2, there were no numbers with x or y. There's no numbers with x or y. Take a look at what my center point was. My center point's at the origin, so my center point for number 9 is 0, 0. Now my radius, 16 isn't my radius. Remember, this is actually a number squared. So what squared gives us 16? Well, the easy way, you can do the opposite. The square root of 16 is 4. So my center point is 0, 0. My radius is 4. So all we have to do is plot the center point. My center point is right here at the origin. And then my radius is 4. Well, when I did my radii up here, I told you had to go to the right, left, up, or down. That's exactly what we have to do here for our radius. We have to go 4 units from the center point. 1, 2, 3, 4. Put a dot. Up 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Put another dot. Left 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And down 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 units from the center point. And then all you do is connect those dots and try to make it look like a circle. All right, let's try number 10. So number 10, the center point is not 0, 0 because I have some numbers here. So I need my center, my radius, and then I need to draw a circle. Okay, so my center point. So I know my center point has to do with these numbers. All right. So remember, in our formula, those negatives were already there. All right. So we just want to know what h and k are. So the negatives are already here. So our center point is just 1, 4. And our radius, remember what we did here, we took whatever number is here and we took the square root. We say to ourselves, well, what times what gives you 9? Well, the square root of 9 is 3. So we want to use the center point 1, 4, and our radius is 3. So 1, 4 is right here for our center point. And then we want to go to the right 3, 1, 2, 3, up 3, 1, 2, 3, to the left 3, 1, 2, 3, and down 3, 1, 2, 3. 3 units left, right, up, and down, and then we draw our circle the best that we can. If it looks a little bit like a square rectangle, like that one is not as great, no biggie.